So you want to be a co-angler. What do you pack? That's what we're going to talk today. There's two important categories, and I'll call it the hidden third one. The two important categories are survival gear, clothes, life vests, safety, water, food, drinks, that kind of stuff. And then the second is your actual fishing gear. Okay, survival gear is more important, okay? I'm gonna tell you, I had a really terrible experience one time when I was unprepared. What happened is, I made a wild card tournament down on Lake Wheeler. And I saw it was going to be like, okay, high 40s, mid 40s, and maybe some rain. I had a little pair of rain pants and a jacket and a sweatshirt. Oh my God, the first day, the wind was howling at 40 miles an hour out of the north. Rain was coming sideways. I got out there, I was soaked to the bone before we even pulled out of the whole chute to start the tournament. About 2 hours of rain. I was almost going to ask my boater, you got to drop me at the dock here. I'm going to go into hypothermia. But the rain stopped. We pulled around to some area. I don't know if he saw what I was going through. I was leaking everywhere. The rain coming down in my socks, squishing. And it was a terrible experience. I barely made it that day. I went to Academy that night and dropped $200 on real gear. Don't let that happen to you. Always prepare for what could be maybe the bad side of weather. Not the worst case. I mean, if it's the middle of summer, it's not going to go down to freezing or whatnot. But be very aware that you can take clothes off and dress in layers. You can't put clothes back on. Even during the summer or early spring or early fall, sometimes it can be pretty nippy in the morning. You need just like that windbreaker, and believe me, going at 75 miles an hour on the water, it's a little chillier. The wind chill gets to you. We're going to talk about those things today here. We're going to talk about your basic gear setup. I'm not going to talk about specific baits and fishing strategies. That will be a separate compartmentalized video. And the third topic is what not to bring, etiquette. You can't bring the kitchen sink. You got to carry it across the parking lot. You got to manage it the whole time. And you don't want to be that guy with your stuff getting in the way of the boater. You don't want him tripping over a tackle bag this big when he's trying to come down and land a fish in the cockpit, okay? For your own sanity, you want to be organized and you want to be lean and mean. Okay, number one, safety and rules required. You have to have a life jacket. A lot of the times their boater will have a backup, but don't depend on that. It might not fit. It might not be comfortable. I have two. I have the auto inflatable kind. I went and bought a very reputable Mustang name brand here because literally it could be your life. I keep it with me, but since I travel between different locations, sometimes I think it's in my pack box or bins or whatever it is and it's not. So as a backup, or if you prefer the traditional non-inflatable type here, which a lot of people do because sometimes water can splash up and activate your auto inflatable, and then you don't have technically a working valid life jacket. In that case, you would hope the boater would have a backup. Some people just prefer these because they're infallible. I keep this one in my truck as just the emergency backup in case I get to the lake, to the ramp, and I don't have it. I keep a lot of extra stuff in my truck because I forgot stuff. When I have a tournament that's like up to like 2 hours away, a lot of time I don't go there the night before. You're going to meet the boater at between 5 and 6 a.m., maybe a little bit earlier. So sometimes I'm pulling out at 3 a.m. Okay, when you get up at 2:30 a.m., you forget things. Or you thought you packed everything the night before, but you're up, late night strategy or talking to the boaters or changing what you're doing, and things change. So, I haven't gone to a checklist, but as I get older, I'm making a checklist for this year, and I would suggest that too. Okay, the next piece of really important gear, whether it be, winter, summer, spring, fall, or whatnot, unless it's really blazing in the middle of summer and there's absolutely zero chance of rain, you really want bibs. And why do you want bibs? Why does everyone wear bibs? Because they seal up in here. You don't have the open area where wind and water can get to you in there, especially when you're getting up and sitting down and moving all around here. I have a couple of different setups. This is my light setup. This was just I think $99 at Academy, the Magellan brand. Magellan brand's a great value brand. I really have a lot of their stuff. And you can always, wait and find it on sale for 15-20% off or clearance or whatnot. So a lot of times you just wear these in the morning with a light jacket and then you peel off right away. Again, it's a lot colder in the morning and you're going 75 miles an hour out in that water, and there's always more wind on the water. My rule of thumb is whatever they say the temperature is, subtract 10 degrees, and that's how you're going to feel out on the water, and then add going down the lake at 75 miles an hour. Okay, other gear you want to have for cooler weather, a nice insulated, rainproof kind of hat. I've even got one for in the morning. It's got the little LEDs on it. This hat is awesome. When it's really cold out, like you see the Gunnersville event, they were freezing. Table Rock 131 coming up. That one's probably going to be frozen out. Maybe they'll still fish it. But a baklava. These are really good. They wrap all around you. They seal up here. Here's where you get cold, right in here. I mean, gaiters in the summer, like these nice Jig Shack shirt, it's built in so you don't lose it. You can take it on and off here. But when it's really cold, you want to put one of these on. And even further, which I don't have, which I meant to buy this year, some guys wear motorcycle helmets and goggles, just goggles. They have like the Jason hockey mask for when it's really cold out and you're going down the water. Man, your face can get really cold here and pound you really hard. And that can be a really cold ride if you're not prepared. Sorry I'm taking so long here, but it's incredibly important. The other thing I have is they're probably on sale this year. This is about the time last year when Bass Pro and others, these are my super duper guideware series of bibs. And that's for the freezing cold weather. I bought the matching jacket too. This guideware stuff from Bass Pro is great. Last year, it was about this time, late January, so it starts going on sale for 20-25% off. If you're a Bass Pro member, a VIP or whatever, you even get more money and more points for it. And this Gore-Tex stuff is just great. Everything seals up so you can seal up all the joints. Look how many pockets it has. I was walking around in probably 20 pounds of extra gear in all the pockets. It's got the nice insulated, breathable material on the inside. It's got the hood you can put up or take down according to what you want to do, or zip it back here, and it cinches down too. So believe me, that cost me, even on sale, close to $400. The first tournament last year in the Toyota Series, Lake of Ozarks, the water was 37 degrees. The ice was just out. Some areas were still iced out. I am so glad I had that gear and that baklava on. It was worth its money in gold. Okay, last but not least, a good pair of polarized sunglasses. if not multiple. Okay, some people have multiple. They have a different color or tint for bright days as opposed to cloudy, overcast days. A lot of times people will have a backpack, a backup in their backpack or tackle bag, because what if you leave them at the car? Happens all the time. What if you lose them? What if conditions are different? You never know what's going to happen. You got to be a Boy Scout. You got to be always prepared. And I highly recommend, one, that you have the holders on so you can go hands-free, and that you can cinch it down when you're traveling down the lake at 75 miles an hour, because you just turn this way and they go flying. So that little $5, $10 purchase can save you $100 or $200 for sure. What you also need is gloves. I have sun gloves for the summertime, just for UV protection, and UV 50 sun shirts. I always wear long sleeve shirts no matter what. I always wear my fishing gloves. But in the winter or early spring, late fall, your hands can get cold and they can get wet. These are the AFCO brand. I just got these at the fishing show. These are awesome gloves. They're waterproof. They've got the grippers on. They're really warm. You can use them on your phone. I upgraded from, I just had some plain neoprene ones last year that were like water resistant, and they were good. But if it was raining, they would not wick dry, so they stayed wet. Not very good. So definitely have, gloves if you're fishing outside of summertime, winter type gloves. And then have your regular fishing light gloves for when you're fishing during summertime. Sunscreen. Another important aspect is sun protection everywhere. Hats, hoodies, shirts. I love these shirts that do this, because the hat kind of, you can wear it underneath. You can pull it over. It's nice to have the bill that stops a lot of sun reflection when it's really sunny, or if you're getting kind of overheated or something, you can just do this for a while and cool off and stay out of the sun. And then sunscreen. I don't like to bring sunscreen on the boat. I don't like to get it on my tackle and everything. I always lather up first thing in the morning before I go on the water, and I have a tube in my tackle bag. If it's a really sunny day or you don't have sweat-proof stuff, you can go through it, and a little hand towel with it so you don't get it on your hands. And I hand towel it. I'm very careful. In fact, I've even gone to having the little spray can so I can spray it. But when you spray it, it gets it all over. And you got to respect the guy's boat here. You don't want to bring too much stuff. You can peel off some clothes. They're going to understand clothes. You can deal with that here. But you got to have just small little tubes or small little spray can or something. And you don't want to be getting juice all over his boat. I had a guy get some suntan stuff on my boat, and it has a white spot, and it never came off the seat. So remember that. Okay, what do I do for food and water? During the summer, I've got this half-gallon insulated jug here. I like to mix up about a 50-50 mix of water and Gatorade. Just water alone doesn't have the nutrients. Just all Gatorade is almost too much. You can mix up whatever you want here. I can put some ice in here, and I fished on 100-degree days, and you fill it up about 1/3 with ice here on a really hot day, but a normal hot, 85, 90-degree day here, you only need like a quarter of ice here, and this thing will stay cold the whole time. But you want to have a little strap or something, or be able to put this into the cubby. You don't want this rolling around banging up the guy's boat here. Sometimes I didn't have a spare. I have a spare and I lost it. I have one with a strap too, so I can carry it and not just have to have a handle or put a carabiner on my other stuff when I'm walking across the parking lot. I used to bring sandwiches and stuff here. I don't like to do that. I'll have a good protein breakfast bar in the morning. I'll bring another breakfast bar with me, maybe some coffee right away in the morning here, but I don't bring coffee on the boat. You don't want coffee spilling on some guy's boat. If you got to bring coffee on a cold day, make sure you bring a sippy sealing cup for sure. Don't just stop by the gas station and bring that on somebody's boat. When it comes to food, although I used to bring sandwiches and stuff, they got messy, they got in the way, they got icky. I found the best thing is I just get beef jerky, and a plug for Bridgeford's. Bridgeford's is some of the best, but according to where you're stopping or where you stocked up, Jack Link's or whatever your favorite brand is, or like some meat food sticks or something like that here. I don't like the Slim Jims; they're really greasy and low quality stuff here. But something easy, and I kind of like the snack. So. We're moving from one spot to another. It's right there in my tackle bag. I open up the little bag of beef jerky, have a couple of nips. I always offer the boater some. Sometimes, they're going to offer you stuff. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're going to have water for you. Sometimes they're not. It's usually the boater's responsibility to have ice and water, or at least ice and some space for your stuff here. Sometimes they forget stuff. Sometimes they ask you to bring a bag of ice, which is a hassle to bring, a 10-pound bag of ice when you've already got 50 pounds on your back. But if the boater asks you, you know what, you should just go ahead and do it. I've done it. You know what? Makes you stronger. Okay, let's talk about gear you should bring. Okay, basic gear is fishing rods. Okay? Please simplify. One lesson I've learned over the years, I started bringing 4 poles, then it was 5 poles, then it was 6, and then I was thinking about a 7th. You got to be versatile. So your basic setup, you can be so effective if you do your homework, and you need to do your homework ahead of time. You kind of need to know the lake you're fishing, what type of strategies you're going to use a little bit, because you might need that specialty rod. But I think the best strategy is to start with, I'm going to take 4 rods, 2 spinning and 2 bait casters. Okay, why is that? Everyone's like, oh, who fishes fairy rods? Okay, as a co-angler, and we'll talk about that in the co-angling strategy and techniques video, it's very important that you not power fish from the back of the boat. Now, if the bite's really hot, that works, but most of the time it doesn't. Finesse is what you got to use here, and that means spinning rods. So you'll see here I have my assortment of rods. I got rod covers on. There's all kind of different rod covers, but a nice, say, 7-foot medium heavy here, maybe 7.3 here, for drop shots, for Neds, for Neckos, for Senkos, and the number one bait for co-anglers, everyone knows it, is the shaky head. Co-anglers, you should have a shaky head on at all time. So instead of having to have 3 or 4 rods for each one of those techniques, you can have 1 rod that you can quickly tie on a different setup. What I really like, drop shots can get really gnarly to manage, especially as a co-angler, especially with all those other rods and that. Get you one of these things. They're a little caddy for your drop shot. It just snaps on with a couple of O-rings, and you can hook your bait right there, your little drop shot weight right there, and then you can wind your hook around and wind the hook right here, or you can put the hook back up over here so it's out of the way here. So I kind of suggest, 2 rods here. I go with like a 7-foot spinning rod here. I like a medium heavy for most of those techniques here. I also have like a 7-foot medium rod, according to the size of the fish, the structure or whatnot, but a bigger spinning rod. And then you want a smaller spinning rod as well here. And according to the season here is a 6.6 medium. This is perfect for jerk baiting. And when I'm co-angling and I'm jerk baiting, I'm not using full-size 110s. I'm using the 80s, I'm using the 90s, the 95s, I'm using a smaller one here. This also works great for very targeted fishing and skipping, like if you're skipping Senkos up underneath the dock, or a Ned, or a small bait here. It can also double up as a nice crankbait rod for small crankbaits. Another thing, now big crankbaits, really small ones, you get some better action here, and you can really zip them out there. And then in the minimum here, you're going to have 2 casting rods here. I usually bring one, a 7 to 73 medium heavy. You can use that one for jigs and Texas rigs and Carolina rigs and your heavier stuff here. And then I bring something a little bit more like a 7-foot 6/8 or something, like a medium. And you can use your more finesse style baits, finesse jigs, smaller crawtails and creatures and stuff. Also, you get a little more action on this rod here. It's more conducive for crankbaits, little crankbaits, chatterbaits. You don't want something so big or whatnot. You can throw chatterbaits any rod, but smaller chatterbaits and smaller lures here. So between those 2 casting rods and spinning rods, you can adjust by just tying different baits on to just about anything, except for if you really know you're on a unique bite. Top water bites, okay? I can throw a top water on that bigger bait caster, but I have a top water rod. If I know like late fall or some summer, or you're going up to like the Mississippi River in La Crosse like I am this year here, where you're going to do a lot of serious top water stuff. Okay, there's your bonus, your 5th rod. And also, can that rod double up as my heavier flipping gear if I'm flipping into those big vegetative mats or whatnot? Okay, there you go. If you're not going to throw jerk baits, maybe you change those 2 spinning rods. And why 2 spinning rods? What if you break an eye on one? Well, what if the line gets tangled up and you need to fish right away here? You can bring another reel in your backpack, but not another rod. So, a co-angler, you really need to use a spinning rod more than you think here. And I know I've said it like 3 times. I've learned the hard way. You want to be prepared. In fact, I can see a couple of tournaments this year where I might have 3 spinning rods and 1 or 2 bait casters. Okay, then you get something specific like. If you really know, like Lake Gunnersville, you're going to go to Lake Gunnersville in spring. Oh, you're going to be chatterbaiting. You're going to be, ripping that lipless crankbait here. Maybe you got a special rod that can, really tailor to that. Hey, that's all you might do all day. Okay. Your boater's going to be doing that stuff. You probably want to be trying some different stuff. What did we see this time from Drew Gill and the others here on day 3? When the bite got a little tougher, what did they do? They went to a smaller worm or a little small crankbait, and they had to do something else for a while. So you got to think about that too. Now, for traveling, something I upgraded to this year was, you can put these rod covers on. And I used to do this when I travel and leave the rods together, but they still kind of hit each other and bounce around, and people can see you in your truck and everything. And I highly recommend these. I used to take them on the boat with me as a co-angler, but you tend to kind of leave them in the live wells and they kind of blow off and stuff, and you're only like getting on the boat and off the boat. So I would leave these in my truck here. But I got this Plano reel bag. This thing is awesome, especially if you're traveling around here. I would just put them in a Tupperware inside of those things, but they never quite fit right. This thing, look how many reels I can get in here. I got 3 spinning reels. I've got 6 bait casters, and according to, if I don't know exactly what I'm doing, if I'm traveling further and I don't know what my boater's doing, or things might change, or weather might change the day before, I might want to change out a reel, or what line size you have on your spinning reel, your bait casters, or gear ratio according to what you're doing here. Well, you got everything here. It's all in this nice insulated pack, ready to go. And I just throw this in my truck and I'm ready to go, because we can talk about that later with tackle and bait here. You should have an idea what you're doing, but you never know what might change, or information you might get here. So always have some more stuff in the truck or backup. to, you know, kind of get down to, you know, the night before, according to what's going on. And then something else that is really important when you're on the boater's boat here, you don't want hooks catching seats. You don't want hooks catching yourself. You don't want hooks getting your poles all snaggled up so you can't get them out in a timely manner. I love these Daiwa protectors. They come in extra large. This is for your super like big top waters or buzz baits. Medium size, pretty versatile for everything else. And then as a co-angler, you probably want some more of these for small chatterbaits, small crankbaits, and stuff like this. So you can keep those troubles out of harm's way. Very important. Let's move on to tackle bags here. I started out with a huge bag. I realized that was a mistake here. I just use that big bag now for transferring stuff to and from my boat and the garage or between households. I have that pretty big backpack from Bass Pro that I had the video on, and I love that backpack, but it didn't fit in a lot of cubbies, and it was always in front of me causing the problem. And I'm like, oh man. And then I filled that thing up. The thing weighed, I thought it weighed 60 pounds. It weighed 32 pounds on your back. But I'm like, you know what? I got to simplify. And I really worked on it last year, taking more and more stuff out. So what I got this year is this Revolution largemouth backpack. So it got me down to 3 3600s here, and this is smaller, so it will fit in the back cubby of the boat here. And it's a backpack, so you can, you know, carry it easy. It's got all kind of storage in front, on side, pliers holders and everything. I'm going to do an individual video on this guy here. It flop opens with containers here. You can put your soft plastics in there. And I can even have a little terminal guy in here, and I got my spinner baits and buzz baits right in here in a pack, so they don't got to take up space down here. So this is going to force me to try and get everything into one little bag. Now, I've seen some of the better co-anglers show up with just a little bitty bag with like a terminal box, and a second box of stuff. They're like so zoned in, and this is all they got to bring. And it's got a little strap, and it goes like this. And why is that? You got to fish your strengths. The strengths are pretty limited most of the time when you're that co-angler. It's more finessey stuff. It should be more plastics, not as many hard baits, according to the season, according to where you're fishing and stuff here. And if you have too many choices, one, you'll spin out. Two, you outthink yourself. I've had that happen many times. And three, you're like, oh, where did I pack that? I thought I had it. And you spend all your time looking for stuff because you get 800 pounds of crap in a bag. Streamline, organize, know where it is, pare it down to the essentials, pare it down to, you know, what you think you're going to fish. Now, even though the boater tells you something the day before, that doesn't mean you're going to fish that. That doesn't mean conditions are going to change. It doesn't mean he's going to go to a spot yesterday where he whacked him and you don't get a single bite for 3 or 4 hours. I've had that happen many, many times here. So you need to have a little versatility. We'll get to that in detail in another video here, but that's all you need for rods and tackle box. So that was a whirlwind. I thought I could get that done in 10 minutes. It was longer, but I think there's a lot of good juice in there when you go through it. I've been on the trail for 5 years, and I've learned a lot. I'm continually learning, not about fishing and angling, but efficiency. Efficiency of packing, efficiency of carrying all that stuff. Survival gear, very important here. You know, we didn't talk about, I got a first aid kit in that little bag here. Got to have some man wipes. Anything can happen. Even down to on that gear there, I got the clippers that you hang a lanyard on, or you can hit it to a belt loop, so you're not digging all the bag in for that. You know, you think something like, oh, the boater will have pliers. I bring 1 pair of split ring pliers. If the boater doesn't have pliers, we've got pliers. I can't tell you how many times boaters are like, oh shit, I don't know where my split ring pliers are. Are they home? You don't have to have split ring pliers, do you? I sure do. And that leads to a great experience with your boater here. You're a team. You're not fishing each other here. And it's really about having a good time out there. So to have a good time, you got to be safe. You got to be organized. You got to be efficient. And you got to be prepared. I think I did that today. If I left anything out, hey, drop some notes in the comments here. Help out the other guys. Hey, thanks for viewing. And until next time, keep your lines tight. And now for our next episode.